First of all, looking back at my parents and their relationship, what I learned was there something cool about being connected to somebody. My mom and dad loved each other. There was fun, there was craziness, there was hand-holding, there was hugs, there was a kiss goodbye at the door every morning. I saw my mom kiss my dad goodbye. And I didn't grow up at home with a lot of friction and fighting. Matter of fact, I don't remember crosswords in my house. So I know, weird family, maybe, kind of the Cosbys of my era, maybe. All I know is that there was something wonderful about family. And I felt loved there. I was the third of 3 kids, so I was a little bit of the last one, a little crazy one and stuff. But I was loved. And I didn't know later, till I left the area, that I grew up in a low-income family. Because it didn't matter, because I was just loved. You know, and so yeah, for me, learning life early about love and relationships was just so natural because I had such a warm family experience. I mean, when kids are treated with respect, they feel valued. When they're included, right, they feel significant. When they're told you're important, they feel they belong. And so when kids go through experience where mom and dad are tight and secure, there's a deep stability that they have intrinsically because mom and dad are secure. And then that's the problem with a lot of the malaise in our society, right, with the brokenness, because at the core, you got so many kids that are wondering about, well, what is permanent? My dad left my mom, there's another woman involved, you know, my mom left my dad, you know, whatever. And I have no trashing on people who've been through heartaches of divorce because I counsel all of them all the time, and nobody wins in divorce. Anybody who's been through it can tell you that. But for me, I felt that love, I felt that connection, I felt valued, I felt encouraged, and those things really helped me know that I was loved. The sex talk, okay? You got to understand that this is a pet peeve of mine. I didn't have the sex talk. The only thing I got from my dad when I was about grade 8 and I was going skating at the local kind of park with a girl, my dad kind of shook his finger and said, "No horsing around. Son, no horsing around." That was my sex talk, I guess. Nothing was ever given to me, nothing was ever said beyond that. But I saw wonderful, healthy relationships, but never talked about sex. So sex was this kind of unknown out there. So one of the things that my wife and I did with our 4 kids is that we deliberately said we want to be the one to coach them about what sex is all about. I don't want them to learn it like I learned it, through the locker room at football and hockey, through the friend's older brother who's got the magazines, right? Okay, so the deal is, one of my personal vendettas is to coach parents on how to do the sex talk before the kid gets to age 11, so that they hear it from someone who has the values that you want to attach for it, like mom and dad can put their perspectives on it and talk about the importance of sex, and because not just the technical, here's how you do it, here goes here, and you know, but actually what it's all about, the beauty of it, the reverence of it, and not just the stay away from it or the dirtiness of it or whatever, right? And so that's a little thing. I would say likely if 1 out of 4 families actually talks to a kid about sex, I'd be surprised. And it's a big hole in our society. If sex is not talked about openly in the home, when the kid is in the tweener years, you know, 10 to 14, if it's not talked about openly and modeled, the love part in a healthy way, we're not going to model sex to our kids. But the point that's really critical is we have to somehow help these kids get it, what love is, and what healthy boundaries are, and what sex is all about. When it's not in the home, now where does it come from? Well, think of how many sex acts they watched in movies. Think of how many they watched on, you know, DVDs coming home. Think of how many TV shows where they see sex acts, and likely 80 to 90% of the sex acts they see are people outside marriage, and they pick up from many of the shows that married love is kind of weird, and the husband's always a dolt if you're married, but the cool guys aren't married, and they jump in bed with all the hot babes, and so they think, you know, sex is getting laid as often as you can with as pretty a girl as you can get. And so it just whacks these kids right from the start because they don't have a good concept of what commitment means, what real love is. Love is not just chemistry in the bed. It's not. And yet that's what our society's saying. You got the Paris Hiltons telling you how to dress, what to carry on your arm, you know, what to look for in a boy. And I mean, you got magazines telling 16-year-olds how to 7 more ways to please your boyfriend sexually. Well, this is all premature. These kids are all still having to grow up. And so So unfortunately, they say, well, kids are doing it anyway, and they make a lot of money selling stuff to kids, the whole, sexual side. One of the things that parents need to be careful of, we often let TV or videos, DVDs, babysit our kids. The danger with that is, if TV's babysitting the kids, there's a lot of, TV shows on there that are pretty trashy that kids are seeing really early. And it could be even about something like sexual abuse, pedophile, whatever. And we would never let a pedophile babysit our kid, but we'll let them watch crap on TV that is completely shaping their worldview, giving them fears. I mean, I've counseled kids under 10 who have fears and phobias over things they've seen on TV because parents were careless, right? So parents got to watch what's going on the internet, because you can get into all kinds of stuff on the internet even as a kid. So when you're talking about how to counteract this influence, there's some things that we can do. Whether you're a parent, a counselor, an adult friend, whatever role you find yourself in. The critical thing is tell them the truth.
Parents who are dealing with young people around sexuality know that the young people do still listen to their parents and will be watching their parents and their parents' relationship, and will be gauging what goes on at home as they shape their own ideas around sexuality. And most young people would say, my parents never had sex once in their whole life. They never talk about it. They never, it would be just horrible to think about their parents having sex. But when parents can at least acknowledge that in their marriage, part of the wonderful aspect of their marriage is a sexual component as well, I think that can be very instructive for young people. I think another thing I'd like young people to learn is, even when they make mistakes, there is room for forgiveness, there is room for healing, and there's ability to get back up again. Sometimes, again, I think messages are sent which are, once you've fallen, that's it, and it's horrible, and it's forever. I believe in a God who forgives, and I believe in a God who wants us to get back on track again. And so even for young people who know that they have broken their own standards, that there is room for forgiveness, there's room for healing, and there's room for hope. They can restore their sexual life once again in preparation for the right time and the right context. Get help when you need it. Don't think that you can get through absolutely everything on your own. There will be some times where it's important to say, we've gone around the block on this one 10 times, we're still doing the same thing, it's not working. Get some help. And certainly in Christian circles, it's often viewed that going to counseling is sinful or is evidencing that you're not having enough faith or something of that nature. But I would say, no, there are good Christian counselors out there too that can help us through. We are not born with all of the skills to create a wonderful relationship. We learn them over time, often the hard way. But if we don't have all the right skills, then get some help so that you can learn the skills and do it better.